And we're live. What is up? Oh, yeah, dance party. It's a dance party. What are you going to do?
I was dancing.
I'm dancing. What's up, world? What's up, Restoration Nation? What's up, Restoration Rebels? Andy McCabe here. This is the Restoration Rebel Roundtable for the 18th of April already, 2024. We've got a special, super secret, unannounced guest today that we will get into. You can see his name on the screen, so go ahead and read ahead. But first, we've got to do what we do. Hold on. Share screen. Window. Here we go. All right, Rebels. These are the 4 agreements that we agree to be part of the Rebel movement here. Agreement number 1, I will protect the value of my services. Offering free services only serves to erode the value of similar services industry-wide. Agreement number 2, I will practice incredible transparency. I will explain the claim process to my client. I will not hide pricing details or falsify reports. I will never communicate with an adjuster without also communicating with my client. Super easy. Agreement number 3, I do not believe in competition. The restoration companies in my market are part of my community. I will be an active member of my community. Oh man, last week was a huge. Speaking of community, last week was big. All right, I'm not gonna ruin it for Anthony. He's gonna go to town on that. It is our unbreakable unity that will create the change that we strive for. In agreement number 4, I am willing to walk away from any project, client, or contract that is not compatible with my values and stated mission. No relationship is worth losing money, sleep, or my humanity. What do you think about those agreements there, Anthony? What do you think? What are your thoughts there?
100% philosophical alignment. Absolutely.
Perfect. We like it when we sync, man. We like it when we sync. So I had a great day. Before I get into Anthony, I wanted to brag on myself a little bit. For those who don't know, I started a new, brought on some partners and started a new centralized claim support service called QuickCheck. And today I spent all day on the phone selling QuickCheck because I'm the chief sales officer. But what I realized at the end of the day, I'm energized because most of those interactions were positive, and most of those interactions ended in a yes, I want to learn more. I want to go forward. So it's amazing. I've been doing this thing for a long time, and just when all the things click, and you have professional restorers whom you respect on the other end of the phone or end of the video going, yeah, man, that sounds like a really good deal. Let's move forward. I want to look into that. I'm like, hallelujah. I think I found the secret sauce somehow, some way. We're really doing some amazing things for folks. So as you can see above here, human powered estimates. If you want to learn more, humanpoweredestimates.com, hit me up. So, all right, I'm done bragging. Anthony Nelson, we had a great time at the RIA last week.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, Anthony Nelson is the guru in Xactimate pricing. And the Ed Cross, the Restoration Crosscheck pricing system is Anthony's baby. He came up with it. He was rocking it at Premier Restoration in the islands before it came to the rest of us, mere mortals. So why don't you give us a little background, Anthony? I think you are known, but maybe not well. What do people need to know about you? What do the rebels need to know about Anthony Nelson?
I like
not
when people
to
are
stick
like,
you up too much there.
Yeah, well, like when people are like, "Oh, I know Anthony Nelson," I'm like, "You do? Really? How?" So I call myself a career restorer technician at heart. I started in the business when I was 18 years old, needed a job in the winter, and found Coach's Catastrophe Cleaning and Restoration Services in Southeast Michigan. And that's where I cut my teeth.
Catastrophe.
That's
okay.
Right.
All right.
And fell in love with it because it gave me the opportunity to make a difference in people's lives every day. And I didn't have to go get a college degree to do it. And when you were from Michigan, the expectation was when you graduated high school, you went and got a college degree. So I wasn't into that.
Yeah, that was my expectation too. When I grew up. Speaking of Hawaii, Mr. Maui, you guys probably have passed each other at the grocery store and didn't even know it.
Possibly,
Probably.
yeah.
Throwing shakas.
Yep.
Awesome. All right, I interrupted you. Go ahead. Keep going.
Moved to Maui in 2009 to join the team at Maui Fire and Flood, which would go on to become Premier Restoration Hawaii, the largest independent mitigation and reconstruction company in the islands. 4 locations, massive revenue. We did our own in-house abatement. So through that process, learned a lot. Very thankful. And it kind of helped me center around 2 missions personally as I changed gears out of being an operator and looking what I wanted to do next. Mission number 1, find a way to give technicians 15 minutes of their day back, either through technology innovation or other process means. Because technicians are the lifeblood of our industry. Don't kid yourself, right? And you want to talk about the individuals who truly make a difference in our world. It's those folks that are taking care of folks in the field. And if you give them 15 minutes back, they don't serve themselves. They take care of everybody else.
They sure do. Amen.
Mission number 2, and this was born out of conversations with a bunch of folks who were either exiting the business or considering exiting the business. And I'm always keen to ask the question, are your kids getting into the business? And unilaterally, the answer is no.
And why is that? That's a problem. Yeah.
Well, and I think it's crap, right? Like it shows a decline in the industry and what we want for it. And so at, 41, 40, I'll be 42 this year. I got to change that. I want this industry to be a place that I'm proud of my 2 daughters to be a part of someday.
Absolutely. I get behind that.
Yeah. So
nice.
Spend most of my time with John Kowalski over at Pivot My Biz, coaching and consulting to restoration business owners. And then love the RIA, sit on the board, sit on a couple of task forces, and trying to always challenge myself to figure out how we can make a difference.
Yeah. I think we should have the RIA board inner workings conversation at another time. I'd love to. I mean, Anthony, I'm telling you right now. I told you on the phone a half hour ago. Yeah. I think you and I could riff for days on different stuff. So I'm excited to start picking your brain on that.
Yeah.
Well, first we got to have our Maui update. What's up, man? Haven't seen you for what, 4 weeks?
Yeah, it's been a little bit. Been busy.
Busy's good. Busy's good.
Phase 2 in Lahaina's been started. A lot of properties have been cleaned up.
So what is phase 2? Because phase 1 was a cleanup, right?
Yeah, phase 1 was like EPA, FEMA involvement, stuff. And then do initial removal of like propane tanks and dangerous material or anything that's on the streets that needs to be removed. Phase 2 is the actual fire residential cleanup.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So now they're testing sites, excavating, getting them soil sampled, and then filled back in, and passing them back to the residents so they could possibly rebuild.
Where they decide to put the stuff? Is it just constant barges coming in and out of the bay there, or what?
So the hazardous materials all being shipped to the mainland.
Okay.
And the fire.
And they get 20 miles off the shore of California and just dump it overboard. Is that what's happening?
No. I think they're going, from handling to grave somewhere. I'm not sure which state. Some states taking it.
Sure. Somebody's getting paid well to take that.
Yeah. And I believe the rest of the material, I'm not involved with that, so I don't know. But I believe the rest of the material, they reopened Lahaina dump as a temporary holding location, and they're burrito wrapping and dumping over in Lahaina at the old dump location. And I know there are a lot of news articles out there that they're trying to purchase a 10-acre parcel for a permanent location.
Did you
Wow.
see in the news that the landholder that has those 10 acres donated a few acres? Like, please don't eminent domain us. Like,
they want to manage
Right?
it, right? And Maui County manages all their dumps. But they're like, we'll give you like, a portion now, and then you can buy lease the rest from us, and we'll manage it. And they really want to manage it.
Or you're right, Anthony. The alternative was, we're just going to take it.
Yeah. Which I don't know, man, what's right or wrong in that argument, but I'm like, it kind of shows the, call a little bit of the underbelly of why it's been taking so long to get things done. It's like everybody's got their interests and they're trying to politic, and I don't know.
That sucks. All right. So thanks, Robert. Appreciate it. So phase 2 is there a phase 3, or is it now it's just rebuild time?
I think, after phase 2 is completed from a lot, then it's passed back to the homeowner as a clear.
So we're going to see folks breaking ground this summer or this spring.
I don't know. I doubt it. I mean, there's a lot of things that they have to correct first. Like, sewage, like Lahaina, the notorious, I think they're TPAs, no sewage system there. And I'm not sure if they're going to require that being done before a lot of that or whatever else. I mean, they fast paced all the permitting and everything else, but I don't know if anyone's starting to rebuild yet.
Okay.
As far as I'm aware. So.
That makes sense. All right. Thanks, Ben. Thanks for being here. Let's go to the RIA. Let's fast track to last week. Two of the biggest events that I was witness to was the whole rollback of the Xactimate end user agreement and the meet the advocate session with the 4 TPAs that Ed Cross led. So I'd like to talk about the latter, but Anthony, you wanted to talk about the Xactimate. What happened there? Give us I think I gave most of the group the Cliff Notes version, but it won't hurt to repeat it.
And so there's a specific section in the end user license agreement for Xactimate, which basically is the Xactimate's permission for you as a restorer to make modifications to the prices, right? Like, and I have it pulled up, and I'm just going to hit the wave tops on it because every single time I talk about,
why don't you share it?
Can I share it? Okay, yeah. Present, share screen. Okay, share screen, and then entire screen. This screen share.
Oh,
we got it.
Now I've got to allow it. There we go.
There we go. So it's this section right here, 12.3. Right, that really
it was 11 point something before, but yeah,
correct. And so, like, my favorite part of this is this last line right here, because every single user of Xactimate has to agree to it. You agree not to prohibit or preclude deviations from the price data where contractor requirements, market conditions, demand, or any other factors warrant the use of a different line item price in a specific situation. So
when that went away, when did that go away? On the 6th or something?
2nd.
The 2nd of April.
Yes.
Oh, so it took another week for me to even get wind of it.
And you weren't last to know either, right? Like, it took me a few days, and this is my playground, right? Like, and so, the questions always to me were like, how did this change? Why did it change? And I think there's some validity into asking those questions, but really what I would encourage the Rebels audience to focus on was how fast the change back happened, right? So August 2nd, few days go by.
Did you get the whole background? Or you were there for Ed, how Ed explained it. Yeah, why don't you tell us what Ed said about it?
Oh, you're probably asking me something specific, and it's falling out of my head. So I'm going to lean back to
No, Ed. Okay, so I'll tell the story, and then I'll give you back the mic. So Ed Cross got on stage and explained this last week of how it went down. And I actually, the night before, I was actually able to talk to Aaron Bronco directly at a different event. It was pretty cool. So Ed gets on stage and he explains, hey, this was brought to my attention on, I think it was the Wednesday So it was 2 weeks ago Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe it was a Thursday. He reaches out and finally gets a hold of Aaron Bronco. He's the president or vice president of Xactimate? President of Xactimate?
President of the risk estimate, like whatever the specific division that Xactimate property solutions,
okay.
I think. Yeah.
So Ed Cross, the restorers advocate, leader of the AGA for the RIA, he got on stage and he finally got a hold of Aaron Bronco on that Saturday prior to the RIA convention.
Correct.
Last week.
Yep.
And he said, Aaron, what gives? And Aaron said, I don't know. You called me. Aaron did not know that this had happened. No one thought, for the software of division that he runs, no one thought to run this type of change by him. This was done without his knowledge, but it was done. So Aaron's like, oh, wait, what? I wasn't aware. And Ed Cross says, I think he called it a vigorous conversation.
Yeah.
Or something like that. I would love to hear a recording of that, because Ed, when Ed gets going, he gets going. Bronco, I'm going to shorten my story. Bronco says, hey, we'll change it back. We'll change it back Monday.
Yep.
And Ed said, that's good, but there's one more thing you need to do. You need to get your butt to Dallas, to the RIA, and explain this to us. Explain how it happened. All right, go.
And so, obviously, Bronco's a busy guy, right? If you're in charge of that whole mess of stuff in Utah, like your calendar's already baked. It's not like you're sitting there on Saturday and you don't have anywhere else to go.
Yeah.
And I share that with folks because I think it speaks to two things. Number one, the integrity of the individual who's at the helm at Xactimate presently, and the strength of the relationship that we at the RIA have worked so hard to cultivate with industry partners like VeriRisk. And for him to make the change in his schedule to be physically present, to offer an explanation of what happened and why, and furthermore to support and advocate for the presence of 12.3 in the license agreement, like, we're living in better times, right? When I talk about personal mission number 2, creating a better world within restoration that I'd be proud for my girls to be a part of, like, okay, like, we're cutting trail that direction, and it feels pretty stinking good.
And this is a position that we frankly didn't have pre-pandemic, right?
Oh, absolutely. And it was very contentious, right? Like, it was
super contentious. I mean, it was a war. Really, it felt like a silent war sometimes, especially when it came to Xactimate. And to have Aaron on stage and do a pretty good job of doing a mea culpa. Like, I mean, I was telling a guy today, I heard about this change, but what was I going to do about it? Right? I'm just a guy. Who was I going to call and bitch and moan to about it? So I largely let it go. I was like, okay, well, they got to it again. They, one more piece of the foundation gone. Or fine. Because in my position, if your entire business model runs on whether or not there's a paragraph in a user agreement for a software that you don't own, you got bigger problems. But it was important because so many of us use that language every single day. I mean, it's baked into so many things, and it's foundational to, I think, the trust. There was a lot of lack of trust, I think, in the past. I think that you're exactly right. I think that bridge is being, if it's not all the way together, at least it's jumping distance apart at this point.
Yep. Well, and you look at that, and you look at the, like the fact that there's a specific pricing course now that Xactimate has to talk through their methodology that you can take as a restorer.
New last year.
qualify yourself at a higher level to provide pricing feedback.
Yep.
I think Xactimate knows, like, my personal opinion is Xactimate's doing the best that they can to update 260 some odd markets, over 22,000 different material and equipment and labor components. Like,
Yep.
dude, could you do any better? I know I could, right? And so, as opposed to taking a stance and saying this is gospel, absolutely, this applies in every circumstance, they're saying, look, it's a place, like the license agreement specifically states, it's a place to begin the creation of an estimate.
Begin the creation. Yep.
And we need your help to help make it better, right?
Yep.
And so I love the evolution of the dialogue that we're having, and to have Bronco show up on stage, we'll observe that dialogue between him and Ed Cross. Like, whew, like, I feel good. I was light on my feet, man.
Yeah.
Like, for the first time in a while, like, that felt really good.
Yeah. There's a little bit of negation there. I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So
that was I had three of them for you.
Okay, what was the third?
Do you want me to go number 2 and number 3, or do you want to?
No, go.
Okay.
Go. What you got?
All right. So number 2, and I know that you did a good job of broadcasting this in the Rebels channel, but I want to just give another clarification point to it. We published at the RIA 4 new position statements, and there are now 20 position statements available to RIA members to assist them in depends on the circumstance, right? Whether it's a TPA, a third-party consultant, an adjuster directly. And 2 of those position statements were written specific to claims handling. The first one is titled "The Carrier's Duty to Communicate with the Contractor," right? And super impactful for those carriers that are not being communicative. And then the second one is on the timeliness of carrier responses, right? Which I know are 2 big problems that restorers are facing in the marketplace.
You know, I went to download those. I'm going to check my.
I
got all of them, but I didn't get those 2. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think the RIA just needed a couple of days to get the website updated. You know, obviously leading into convention, there's a ton of stuff going on.
Yeah,
and getting stuff like this approved by a bunch of knuckleheads on committees like myself is a Herculean effort, and so they got approved moments before. And
I got it. There they are.
Yep.
Position number 2, timeliness of carrier responses. Number 1, duty to communicate with the contractor. And I know he put some excerpts up on stage when he was.
Mm-hmm.
And you're saying there's 2 more beyond that?
There's for a total of, let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. I think there's 24. Is there 24? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Earth
12.
to RIA. We need a clear way as members to discern whether or not we have all the data, because it's confusing how the website's set up, but it's all right.
And totally agree with you there. And when you're sitting, and I'll just share from my perspective, when you're sitting on the board and you're trying to decide, look, are we going to go try and make an impact for contractors on pricing, or are we going to divert resources to update a website that maybe needs to improve and function? Like, okay, like we shift priorities. But I don't want to negate the criticism. It definitely is fair.
Issue: insurance carriers fail to timely respond to restorer inquiries. The statement is: property insurance carriers must comply with claims handling regulations, including the duty to promptly respond to reasonable inquiries from all parties involved, including. I like it.
Yeah. And so if you're, like my ask to the Rebels group, because there's a lot of philosophical alignment between what the RIA is working on and the conversations that we've all participated in.
For sure.
If you find any sort of value to any of the position statements, first year membership's $300. If you think about how you could go achieve an ROI with one of these position statements on one claim, and the reality being you're going to use them on multiple claims.
Every single damn thing.
in my mind, it's money well spent. And so I won't beat on that too hard, but it's my ask of the Rebels for sure.
I beg, borrow, and steal from the position papers every single day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What's interesting though is like here in Hawaii, like I never heard of the RIA until I came in the Rebels group, and so I became a member, last year. So it was my second year, and I renewed. I never heard about it before, and it is very.
You're welcome, Christy. You're welcome, Christy.
Yeah, but yeah, it has I think a lot more people should be members of it. A lot of restoration companies, a lot of them here are not at all.
Well, a lot of restorers in general are not at all.
Mm-hmm.
I heard a number last week of roughly 65,000 restorers nationwide. How's that number jive with you, Anthony? You think it's more or less?
I mean, I think that's the ground floor.
Maybe it was like 55,000 brands, but a lot of those have multiple locations. But still, you look at the membership now. We just crested 1,600 members in the RIA, but there's 60,000 restorers. We need. That's not even a statistical error. I mean, we need more restorers to be more representative. Is that what you're saying, Robert? I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No, that's all I was saying though. It's just something I didn't heard of, and now I heard about it, and I'm glad I did join it. Man, there's a lot of value you get there. They give it a lot of free content that it is absolutely beneficial.
Yeah.
And Robert, can I ask, are you leveraging any of the partnerships of the Affinity program, like the discount on Xactimate licenses and stuff like that?
I haven't yet.
I did. I used the Xactimate discount this year for the first time ever.
Yeah, because I think it was like a limited amount of people, but like I haven't been buying the Pro because I was just so used to last 7 years using the other version.
Yeah.
And then when I went to did my ASD class, some guy was showing me the LiDAR with the new Xactimate Pro, and I was like, maybe I'll renew and get the upgrade.
And when I spoke to Xactware about that, I said, here's the coupon code from the RIA. I said, well, I mean, how many? They essentially told me that limit is for the website. There's no real limit. So don't be afraid. I would hate for a restorer to say, oh, well, it's probably already taken. No, man, go and ask. And if it is, it is. But it wasn't for me. So, yeah.
And if you're looking to substantiate a return on your investment, if all you did was become an RIA member and get the discount on 2 Xactimate licenses, you covered your nut, right? And then you leverage the position statements. Like, I don't know, man. It starts to be like a conversation around, hey, why aren't you doing this again? Like, you're going to have to articulate to me why you're not a member because the value proposition's so heavy on the other side. But, like I'm partial, right? Like I'm on the board.
It's never been a value prop for me in that way, right? I'm not. And I've never joined something just because I could leverage some sort of savings discount. I've joined something because I believed in the mission. What it's about for me is once the RIA and the AGA by proxy gains significant gravity. I mean, like we need significant standing. Once we get, and I don't know what the number is. I've never spoken with anyone over there about it, but is it 10,000 members? Is it 5,000 members? Somewhere in there, the association begins to fund the AGA in a meaningful way. And what's the AGA? It's freaking lobbying. And guess what we don't have? We don't have a lobby. The restoration industry doesn't have a lobby, and it needs one. We need to be recognized as a freaking trade, right? We need our own workers' comp SKU number, whatever that is, right? There should be water damage restoration, mold remediation, smoke damage repairs, things. That should be a trade. It should be a recognized trade. And the reason, one of the biggest reasons it's not, is because no one's lobbying for that shit.
And so there's a number of things in motion. Directly to that point, Matt Preston, who's like on the corporate side of ServPro, he heads up the legislative task force. And it's totally a labor of love. Like, I feel bad for the guy because literally what he does is he tracks every bit of legislation federally and across all 50 states and sifts through them and goes, which one of these bills could have a positive or negative impact on restorers, right? Like things from like minimum wage to the additional licensing categories, like all of that crap.
And I hope Bro's using AI at this point. Man, that's a lot of work.
I mean, and I'm sure, you know, bill tracking, legal guys, they have access to capital. I'm sure there's something that's sifting through it. But I know just listening to what has come up, RAA did file an amicus brief for a bit of legislation that was going to drop in Florida that was not beneficial to restorers. Like, there's a lot that's happening relative to what you're talking about already.
Right.
Even though we don't have all the necessary capital to put somebody
you can't fund it. You just
in that lobbying position. Yeah.
I mean, you've got the mechanics in place, right?
Yep.
It's really truly all about the money, and that's the fact. All right, let's shift gears and talk about the Meet the Advocate session with Ed Cross and these 4 TPAs. First off, both of you guys, have you ever heard of this? Let me get back in my notes here. There was a TPA that I had never heard of before, and it was the IT-based one. There it is. West Hill Global. What do you know?
Newer to
me
the
too,
scene,
Robert. I got nothing.
Newer to the scene, but very contractor-centric. I've never handled any claims back and forth. I'm operating from a position of ignorance there. I only know the anecdotes, but seems like, okay, maybe something better, maybe something different. I don't know.
Okay. I'm going to bring up one of the TPA papers that Ed mentioned. Let me see here. Referral fees for jobs not referred by the TPA. That's one of my favorites. Yep. I mean, how often do you get in, especially the program guys, right? The non-program guys, we could give a hoot. But the program guys, like, man, I did all my own marketing, and this job came from my cousin, and it's $1 million job, but guess what? It's the program insurer, so the program is going to push it back through the insurer is going to push it back through the program, and I'm going to have to pay another fee for this job to Contractor Connection for a job that Contractor Connection did not send me. That's what it comes to. Did I say that right?
Yep, you got it.
Okay, so this is what the RIA's position is, and in the AGA, TPAs should not charge referral fees for jobs they did not refer to the contractor. Sounds freaking simple, doesn't it? But not one of those guys on stage committed to agreeing to that statement.
Can I ask you your theory on why that is the case?
Plausible deniability. Those guys know, and that's the other thing about the influence that I feel building in the association. Those guys know they're on. Well, first off, it's being filmed. Mm-hmm. They know they're not making these deals and doing these dirty deeds behind closed doors anymore. And I don't think historically any one of those dudes on stage was used to any pushback whatsoever. I think they walked in there like they walked on water. They were doing us a favor. And the dynamics need to change. I've been saying it for so long. Anyway, it's probably a good thing they didn't have an open mic in that session, but I so wanted them to have an open mic in that session.
But you think, like, if you did say, oh, and, Lance Malcolm, by the way, Andy McCabe's going to be in the audience and we're going to have an open mic. He probably conveniently is busy that day, man. Like, I'm sorry. And like, out of respect for him, and like, I would do the same thing. I would do the same thing, right? You kind of have to, when you're having these conversations and they are very delicate, you have to be mindful, right? Otherwise, people don't want to engage in the conversation to begin with.
Well, I have never been accused of acting presidentially.
Fair enough.
So
I have a hard time myself, so I get it.
I get that. So here's what I took a whole page worth of notes, but what I wanted to bring up tonight, and so maybe it sparked a conversation. No one is commenting tonight. This is weird. I would think we'd have at least one comment by now. All right, y'all, Peanut Gallery, give me something to respond to over here. It's like crickets. Okay. I heard the phrase, the benefits of the program. I must have heard that phrase 25 times in that hour that we were there.
Mm-hmm.
And the question I would have asked, if given the opportunity, is what benefits of the program that you guys are espousing, what benefits of your program are not paid for or provided by the vendor? We abide by your rules. We jump we say how high when you say jump. We pay you our commissions faithfully. We warranty the work. We provide. But then we pay for the privilege. That is not a fair dynamic. That is not a balanced, that's not a good deal, right? They're not providing anything but. So, and my follow-up question would be, what benefit to the end user, the insured, does your program provide? And those two questions alone, I think, they're key. All right, I'm gonna respect you. I know you want me to rein it in. All right, I'm reining it in.
No. Honestly, what I want is honest dialogue, and that's why I reached out to you and said, "Hey, can I show up and we can talk story today?" Because you are always honest, right? And sometimes people have a hard time stomaching the honesty. And okay, there's an argument that maybe that's on you, maybe that's on them, but I'm not here to engage in that. What I'm here for is, look, I think the dialogue's key. So I'm going to answer your second question first, right?
Okay.
I think we as restorers do not do a great job of articulating the value that we bring to our industry partners. I think we get distracted by the day-to-day in engaging in the business, and we are not the best salesmen of our own products.
Wait, so you're talking about selling upstream to?
I'm talking about the conversation directly with TPAs, and this is from my own personal experience.
Okay, so the restorer needs to be selling themselves to the TPA,
selling the value that they create.
Okay.
So
broadcasting. Okay, I'll keep going. All right, I'm tracking.
So, with regards to referral fees, and this is from my personal experience, right? We were on a TPA as Premier. I'm not going to name the TPA because I don't need the heat, but we were on a TPA and had a conversation with that TPA because in conjunction with being on that TPA, we were also soliciting work directly from an insurance agents, and that carrier was also a part of the TPA, right? So we ended up in that situation where things were getting pushed through the program after the fact and all these things, like quite often. Jobs were done, and then we get the assignment 2 weeks later. And so as opposed to sitting down and saying, this is crap, and pushing against it and being indignant, what I did is I set up a meeting with the RFM for my area, the regional guy.
Okay.
And I said, hey, look.
Did it rhyme with a smacrity?
I declined to comment. And so in that conversation, I articulated the problem, right? Like, I have a sales team that I am compensating to go out and secure this work. Make no grind. Like, if you drive work into my business and I don't have to pay a sales team to get it, that brings value to me.
That was the promise.
But these circumstances across these files through the continuity of the year, we have paid your fee, and I think it's crap. Mm-hmm. And so if you continue to make us pay this fee, you lose the value and the benefit of a quality contractor in this market. Mm. And I can tell you that that conversation went real well. What I'm challenging is I don't think most restorers are asserting themselves and articulating the value there. And I would encourage them to do so, because they might be pleasantly surprised with the outcome.
Yeah.
I think the part of that though, like Premier is like a big player here, right? 4 islands,
Fair.
Let's just pretend that they're doing like, $20 million a year, right? Obviously that has a lot more, if you're paying a, referral fee to a TPA, it has a lot more leverage than, me, doing less than $1 million a year or $1 million a year and saying, hey, I'm going to pull out of my TPA and not give you quality work. And they're like, all right, we're just going to pass it on to SurfPro or Premier or, MD, like unless everybody was on board, I think, the big boys have a lot more teeth in
and
the
so
game.
Totally fair point, but how do you change the narrative? How do you change the tide? Like if it's only the big players in a market that are having that conversation, then the narrative only changes for those individuals that ask, right? Where it starts to become an industry change is when all the players in the market start to have the same conversation right now. And I think that when I look at the problem, that's a conversation that's not being had.
Yeah.
Well, what I really want to do is
not out in the open. It's not being had out in the open. It's a conversation that's being had. It's just not being held loud enough or out in the open enough. And frankly, that's where I see my role is my role to just freaking throw open the door and shed some light. But that also what you said, Anthony, jives with what I have said for a long time. And that is, oh shoot. Holy shit, it's been a long day. Wait, I just totally lost my train of thought. Value, it'll come back to me.
Derailed.
Keep going. Derailed, completely derailed. Oh, no, okay. They need us more than we need them, right? And I would argue, even if you're a small fish, you are still part of their coverage, right? What is a contractor selling to a TPA? The contractor is selling market coverage. So the TPA can then resell that market service to the carriers, right? If a TPA can't show coverage for a certain area, they can't bring on a carrier who has insureds. They're going to have losses in that area unless you got people that can cross territories, and that's a different thing altogether. So end of the day, the TPAs are selling contractors' market share uphill to the carriers. So I would say, even in a small market like you are, you pulling out of your market could negatively affect that TPA if you were part of one. So I'm with you, Anthony. I think it's about understanding and defending your value. And I think that's a great, honest conversation that guys just didn't even think they knew they could have.
Yeah.
So take this as a lesson, folks. He did it. He just went and said, hey, we're going to turn off next year. I paid you this much money. And you used logic and you used numbers. Like, this is what I paid you in commissions last year. This is what you sent us. This is not an ROI for us. It was like, yeah, I like it.
And let me be clear. We had to have that conversation a few times. Because there's turnover and there's different people, and the handshake agreement you had with one guy doesn't carry forward to the next. Yep. So, like, it's not like a one and done type of situation, right? Like, it's a constant dialogue, right? And you bring respect to the conversation. And in my personal opinion, you always get met with respect. But if you bring hostility, you're going to get met with hostility for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess for me, like, I value my work ethic and our value that we provide. So that's why we just don't deal with TPAs. That way I don't have to cross that boundary of having that conversation.
Right. There is leave no doubt.
And if I was starting over, never. I just wouldn't do it, right? There's easier ways to get work.
No, I had a guy on the phone today though, and I had to be honest, in his particular situation, TPA is not a bad thing. Where in a lot of, I think TPAs can be a part of, I think I've said this before, but if you try to pin me on it, I'll deny it all day long. I think they can be a part of a restorer's legitimate revenue mix, but it's these guys that get dependent. they really put themselves in a bad position where they have no leverage, and then they're just buried in work they're not making good profit on. And it's like having a diet that's 100% donuts. Now, I've tried it. It wasn't good for me. It looks like I've been on it recently, but whatever. TPAs, it's always going to be a sore spot with me, Anthony. It's always going to be that thing. But everyone has a right to exist, I guess.
And so what I would challenge those that are decidedly non-TPA, right? Like I love the concept of alternative reality theory, right? Like if you run a non-TPA business, what if you did? How would that impact your business? And because here's a hard truth that non-TPA guys refuse to accept is there are a number of contractors who are on TPAs that are highly profitable. And there's great value in asking the question, how are they profitable and what elements of that can I bring to my business, right?
Well, yeah, and I had a great conversation with a restorer last year in Orlando, and he came up to me he kind of threw down the gauntlet a little bit because he knows how outspoken I am against TPAs. And he said, listen to this, man. We did $12 million last year. I'm making a 43% gross profit. My net is off the charts, and I'm 100% programs. So if you're going to run a program shop, run a fucking program shop. Be dialed, be efficient, get your systems in place, and just run the wheels off a hyper efficient operation. But if you're anything but that, it won't fit. You're going to fail. People don't understand that.
Yep.
You gonna let Joseph Spears into the conversation? It sounds like he's hanging out outside a locked door right now.
Oh shoot! Sorry, Joe. I didn't look down. There you are. Well, what are you doing anyway?
I got you, bro. I got you.
Hey, look at that. Welcome, Mr.
I'm not gonna lie. It was my idea. To change it to Thursdays, and I totally forgot we changed it.
Dude, he brought it up at the start of the call too. It was like magic.
Anthony called that. He's like, "Oh, it's usually the guy that changes the date that can't make it the first night."
Yep.
Welcome, Joe.
Welcome.
You been listening in, or you just ran in breathless, or earless?
I literally just got home and logged in.
Okay. Well, you missed a great show. How was your week?
It's been a fun-filled, interesting week. That's for sure.
Let's take a moment to recognize that Mr. Spears is one of the best exactimators in the world, and he is taking on new clients right now as a remote estimator. So, boom. Now, Joe, don't blame me when your phone doesn't stop ringing tomorrow, but I love you, man. I want nothing but success for you.
I appreciate that. How are you, Robert?
I'm good.
Is the Hawaiian weather nice right now?
Yes, it is. I was over on the west side.
Don't come here. Don't come.
Super hot.
The weather sucks. Don't come.
Joe, what are the odds that you have
with full PPE and 100, probably like 86 degrees? It's not so fun.
Oh wow!
Where are you wearing full PPE at?
For asbestos abatement.
Yep.
Out in the blazing sun.
Are you not renting like the portable AC units?
No portable AC unit.
No, bro. Islands, bro.
You can't get it close
enough,
enough, man.
Exterior, right, Robert?
Yeah.
It's exterior work. Okay.
Yeah.
Dude, I'd grab like an igloo cooler full of dry ice and a PAPR and hook that stuff up. I would die if I had to walk around like that.
I'd probably lose 3 or 4 of my chins, which would probably be a good thing.
I was so sweaty.
Yeah, I'll be out there the next 2 days.
Well, that's why you get paid the big bucks. Good on you, man. All right, so we're towards the tail end here. Anthony, what is there one thing we can touch on real quick?
Yes. Can I share my scholarship dinner story?
Oh, yeah. So scholarship dinner raised $200,000 for the scholarship, and there was I want you to touch on the continuation fund. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So Pete Consigli, I don't know if you've met Pete Consigli, you know Pete Consigli. That's a guy you only have to meet once in your life, and he's forever in your head.
That's accurate.
He's done these dinners for years and years and years. And so him and Mark Springer decided, you know what, let's take the Pete Consigli dinner concept, turn it into a fundraiser for the Pete Consigli RAA Scholarship Fund. Raised a couple $100,000 for scholarships when, information is cascaded about how technicians can apply to that scholarship. I'll be vocal in the Rebels channel and make sure that everybody that's an RAA member knows that it's happening and has the opportunity to join in and, get some advanced designations.
Let's be clear. Let's define our terms. The scholarship exists that people that restorers who are members of the RAA can apply to. The scholarship exists to pay people's way through higher designations like
Correct.
CRT, CR. What are the designations right now?
FLS.
Okay.
All the RAA pillar designations.
All the pillar include up to and including the master.
Up to and including CR. Yep.
Okay. Yep. And that's and not an insignificant amount of time and money traditionally to get through that stuff. What is the RI? I know historically they've only been able to offer one scholarship a year, right? I'm hoping this gets us at least two. I mean, I don't know what their setup is. How many scholarships do you think they'll be able to give every year?
I do not know. Like the scholar, and this is my own nuance. This is not an official RAA position, but I think the scholarship dinner was such an overwhelming success that it's forcing everybody to evaluate and look at how the program works moving forward.
Okay.
And so whatever was present will be better in the future, guaranteed. And then when that information comes out, I will make sure that we make it available.
Yeah, because it only makes us all better. Rising tide will float all boats. Yep. I've just been too lazy and busy and broke over the years to go get my CR, but it's always been like there's real restorers, there's CRs, and then there's the rest of us. So.
And so the second thing that happened was passion project of Mr. Springer, which was the development. It's being dubbed as a continuity fund, just so then that way we have flexibility to determine if, what type of fund we're actually going to make it. But during COVID, the RIA historically has generated all of its income off of the annual convention. And so what happened in 2020? No convention.
No convention.
And the consequence of that was almost the death of the Restoration Industry Association.
Yeah, it's not like they had a huge buffer leading up or warning. And historically that event was the fundraiser of the year for the association, which went to pay for the professional management and everything, all there is to it. So
as somebody that's late to the party here, I do have a question, and if it was already answered, I apologize for asking it again.
Oh, don't worry.
The RIA certifications and stuff like the CR and all that stuff there, are they comparable? Do they come is it a combo thing with the IRCRC certifications? Do you need the IRC first?
Let me quote the great Parker Olson. The IICRC is elementary school. The RIA designations is a master's degree. And I said, "Thank you, Parker. That was awesome." But he was a CR. I think he was CR 5 years ago. I mean, this kid, super smart, super just jacked. Anyway.
I mean, I knew that I knew the designations existed, but I was always, when I was in my younger days, always thought it was almost like two competing, ideologies butting heads with each other.
And it almost, I think it was for a period of time.
For a while there was.
It was back then. Yep.
And I would like to. I would say in the next year, I'd love to see the RA do more at trying to encourage their certifications over, just going to the basic IRCRC stuff. But it's
Here's the problem: is the IICRC and those designations are recognized by major franchises, right? It's a prerequisite to work for a franchise, green truck, yellow truck. The prereq is WRT, right? They don't have the same mandates for the RIA designations and courses. It's just simply not mandated. So that's always going to be the problem with the dynamic of real professionals who want to advance their career, and knowledge. You're going to go for these things, but there's very little incentive, I think, for the frontline technician to go get their certified restore, right?
And one of the things that Marcy Richardson, who chairs up the education subcommittee at RIA, has been working on is that career path. So then that way, like you're like, hey, I want to go get a bachelor's in business, and they give you a path, and they say, look, okay, you want the bachelor's in business? Here's the courses you need to take in order to get your bachelor's in business. And so there has been a lot of work done behind the scenes to make that happen. And it's one of those things that I look at and I go is foundational for the technicians in the field, right? Because I went and got master status. I was master fire, master water, and IICRC within the first few years of the industry. And then I'm like, okay, what next? I know I'm not done, what? Right? And it kind of falls off a cliff. And so the continuity of that, I think, is super important.
Well, then you went and got a job, right? I mean,
yeah. I always had a job, dude. I had a paper out when I was 10. So
nice.
I've always had a job.
So, Joe, one thing we talked about early on was the fact that our industry lacks a professional designation. Like we're lumped in with, some of us are lumped in with janitorial. Some of us are lumped in with general contractors. And we need to professionalize, legitimize, and professionalize restoration. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I feel like there's a shit ton of lobbyists out there to prevent us from doing that from the carrier side because they don't want us to be. I'm not saying union and organized in that manner so much. I mean, you're talking to a union guy, but I mean, I do believe there's not any. The only real true advocacies we have in the world right now is the RIA to help us battle these multi-billion-dollar companies. And I mean, unfortunately, they can only do so much, and there's just not enough for whatever reason. Like, I feel like we've just been sidetracked. Like, either people consider us to be general contractors or we're janitorial stuff and all. And that's how the carriers especially like to wage that war against us to help argue and validate their cheaper prices.
Yep.
And I think if we could have more support and more advocacy, I think it would definitely help better streamline the industry and help organize it and make it a more controlled environment. I mean, right now, there is no oversight within our industry. You got some guys out there like me and you, Andy, who when we do our work, we're doing it to the letter. And then we got some people out there that I see that are renting grandma's little basement dehumidifier and some box fans and saying, I can dry your house out as well. And it's definitely a problem, especially as we move into the future, that I think is only going to get worse, because just like right now, where we have numerous insurance companies vacating the different states where they have the highest, exposure rates of claims, we need to have something in control to prevent people from getting taken advantage of, not just by the carriers, but people taking advantage of the homeowners themselves and screwing them over.
Yeah, it all takes laws and legislation, and that takes lobbying. That's just what it comes down to.
And so indirectly, Mr. Spears, what I'm hearing is if the Restoration Industry Association had a committee that formed around improving relationships directly with carriers, that would be a huge benefit to the industry.
If only. Oh,
wait, it just happened. It just happened. Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
Segue to the AGA, the Advocacy and Governmental Affairs Committee of the RIA, headed by still Ed Cross, I would think. Yeah.
So he sits as the advocate, and then we have a bunch of different people that serve on a bunch of different subcommittees, and like it's a Herculean effort. There's probably 50 volunteers within the umbrella of AGA presently.
Wow.
Oh, I believe it. I mean, it is. It's a hard process because anybody that's going to be an advocate for our industry, you're going to get it from both ends of the spectrum. You're going to be fighting the carriers and trying to explain to them that, we don't have $12 water technicians no more, and that the prices they want to pay are jank. But you're also going to have some kind of ability to control the industry and prevent Bob and Tom from saying, "Oh my God, I used to do just interior roofs, and I can do this water demo stuff. I've watched them do it on 4 or 5 jobs. I want this money too." And that's one reason why I know, Andy, you hate me saying it here, but that's why I understand. I might not like them. I might think they're crap, but I understand the need for the TPA services to help overall control the industry.
I could never hate you, Joe. I could never hate you.
It's also, I don't understand why we don't have somebody fighting more for these carriers to invest more into the training of their adjusters on the estimating creations. The amount of adjusters I talk to on a weekly basis who have no clue half of the legitimate things I'm doing in a program that they are requiring us to use is ridiculous.
Well, here's the deal. I think it's simpler than that. The solution, and we're 2 minutes over time, so we're going to wrap it up.
Good job, Joe.
Shows up late, runs late.
And I didn't even get to tell my fun scholarship story, man.
Okay, is it about the boat? Because I'll let you. We'll go long if it's about the boat. Okay, I got one last point. We need to require that a licensed adjuster handles the negotiations for every claim. But just think about it. What if there was a mandate that every claim negotiation had to involve a licensed adjuster?
Isn't that how it's supposed to work?
Well,
you would think.
Yeah, but then you got to look at the flip side of it. Is I'm the contractor and Andy's the insurance licensed adjuster. How am I supposed to defend my invoice without hitting, or when I'm not a licensed adjuster myself?
Easy. You don't talk about the policy. You don't talk about coverage. You talk about
your about policy or coverage. I say this is what the job cost, and this is how I build it.
And there is no negotiation. That's my goddamn number. All right. There's a harder line. I know there might be some gray area there that I'm just completely ignoring it. All right. You got the last word, Anthony. Bring us out with a story.
All right. So at the Pete Consigli Scholarship Dinner, in the midst of fundraising, board members. So hats off to all the board members for the RIA who donated generously. Jeff Moore of ATI, Mark Davis, like countless others. So one of the auction items was a day on Mark Davis's yacht. So Mark has this beautiful yacht in Fort Lauderdale. He's the guy that owns PureClean, the PureClean franchise and Signal. Okay. And so he generously donates this. So then that way, restorers in the room can bid it up, and all the donation money goes to charity or goes to the scholarship fund, right? So nobody's, he's donating the yacht, everybody's giving money, it's all in good fun. So the bid war, there's this bid war that kicks off for a day on Mark Davis's yacht between two executives at ServPro. So you've got two ServPro guys bidding against each other to take a competing franchise's yacht out. And Mark Springer, who's the auctioneer at this point, goes, Mark Davis, what would it cost for ServPro when they have your yacht to raise the ServPro flag and shoot a social media post, right? And Mark Davis goes, for the RIA, nothing. Bid it up. Right. Mm-hmm. And I can't remember the exact figure, but I want to say north of 10 grand was raised just on that alone in good spirit and good nature between two competing franchises. Right.
Yep.
I tell that story in this circle because I know a lot of independents in the Rebels movement, but even the franchise guys are getting behind the movement here at the RIA. and recognize it's time for us to come together to make the world a better place for every restorer, right? Franchise, private equity, doesn't matter, right? It needs to get better for all of us.
Yep.
Amen. And
thanks, I will, for the record, just say that I will never be allowed to win the boat as a reward, because I would be blaring the Lonely Islands. I'm on a boat 24/7 on there the entire time, and just annoy the crap out of everybody.
You'd have to get in international waters, right? 2 miles offshore, you're good.
That's
anything goes.
That's the deal.
That's where I write my estimates. It's in international water, so you can't tell me what to do.
Something there.
Man. Hey, thank you so much for having me, guys.
Thanks for being here, man. Thanks for showing up. It was good. We're on a 2-week bi-weekly now, so we're going to skip next week. What's the week after that? The second week of May, first week of May?
You're talking the second.
Yep.
Okay. May 2nd is the next Restoration Rebel Roundtable. That will be the first roundtable that I am not able to broadcast directly into Facebook groups for some reason. Facebook is changing their thing. So between now and then, if you want to follow the Restoration Rebel Roundtable, you got to be on LinkedIn following me, or you got to find yourself on YouTube at Acclaims Delegates YouTube channel, because it will no longer be broadcast to Facebook. So
sad day.
Sad. Maybe they'll walk it back. Maybe we can have Ed Cross call Facebook and say, "Hey, you know that change you made? You really fucking
up the Zuckerberg. What's up? I need you to be in Dallas on Monday."
Well, I would say I want Ed to do that, but Ed first needs to get them to revise my contract with Xactimate to state that pricing is negotiable.
but
in terms of service, remember they changed it.
They changed it back.
Did they already change it back?
Yeah, wait a minute, man, you didn't hear that whole story?
No.
Are you serious right now?
Missed it.
Dude, are you for real? You didn't hear that whole story?
I heard that they changed it. He went in and was like, "This is a problem," but I didn't hear they actually did change it back yet.
Dude, man, you missed like the biggest hug the industry's ever had in the past 10 years.
Okay, so for all y'all who are late and Joe, here's the Cliff Notes version.
All right, Andy, I got to drop, brother. I got to go pick up the kid.
See you, Anthony.
Love you guys. Thank you. Aloha.
So the lawyers got together in their infinite wisdom over at Verisk and changed these things, right? April 2nd is when that happened. Last week, the week before the RIA, so it's 2 weeks ago, Wednesday or Thursday, Ed Cross catches wind of it. Ed has a lot of that language built into the contracts that he sells. So Ed is motivated. So Ed told the story last week at the RIA. He gets up on stage and he told the whole story. Ed says, I finally got a hold of Bronco on Saturday. Bronco is the VP of estimating services or whatever over there. He oversees Xactimate. Ed says, I got a hold of Bronco on Saturday. We had a vigorous conversation. And he said, ultimately, I'm trying to shorten this for you. Bronco didn't know the language was taken out. Bronco promised to put it back in. And he did on Monday. But then Ed said, that's not good enough. You have to show up at the RIA in Dallas next week and tell us why this happened and how this happened. And he did. And that's the picture I posted. I pictured, him and Ed shaking hands after Bronco essentially did a mea culpa. Hey, man, I didn't know, but it's back there now. And I think that was huge. I mean, that was coming from, that is unprecedented, right? When's the last time Xactimate or Verisk got on stage and admitted, hey, we made a mistake and we fixed it? Like, never. It's huge.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, I think it's going to show the power that our industry is starting to develop slowly but surely, that, people like Ed and us, that we are able to make people be aware that, hey, you can't just do whatever you want anymore, and that there is some level of accountability, because notoriously, and I hate saying it about it, Xactimate, they have kept their hands extremely clean of any form of accountability by always leaving it so ambiguous.
Exactly, and it plays for them, plays into them. All right, now we're 11 minutes over, but Rob, I got a question for you. If I find myself in Kauai, how hard is it to go over to Maui? If I was to
Kauai, you'd have to take a plane
for a day.
Just a plane ride inter-island.
Okay.
There's usually direct Maui to.
Just don't get on a Boeing. You'll be okay.
A 737.
I think they're all Boeing out here, man.
I might find myself in Kauai, and I'd like to string together a day on the front end and the back end to come see you.
All I know is, Robert, if he comes and sees you, you have to record him trying to surf so I can laugh.
Deal. All right. See you guys.